Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. And I once again can tell you who is not, and that's the so called squad. You know, that group of ultra repulsive progressives in Congress like AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib and just the most miserable minions on earth. Well, this weekend has given them another reason to be resentful and bitter. Just this week, 25-year-old progressive influencer Deja Fox, who is being groomed as the next AOC, the next Ilhan Omar, she ran in the Democrat primary for the open seat in Arizona's 7th congressional district. So this is a deep blue seat that's long been held by the former Democratic representative Grijalva, who died back in March at 77 years old. Now, again, we need to stress here this radical progressive Deja Fox. She was in the same camp as Mamdani in New York, right? Or this Somalian socialist running for mayor in Minneapolis. She was groomed by the squad and by the former co-chair of the DNC, David Hogg. In fact, his Leaders We Deserve PAC poured millions of dollars of funding into her campaign. She's got hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. She was really touted as the next up-and-coming progressive. Gang, she got obliterated. She got absolutely decimated in this week's Arizona's primaries race. We're talking something akin to a 42-point loss. It was a political massacre. She was defeated by a far more moderate Democrat, Adelita Grijalva. That's the late congressman's daughter. She won with over 62% of the vote. But here's the key in all of this. This colossal defeat is actually part of a much larger pattern that the legacy media is doing everything it possibly can to hide from you. The squad, that radical group of far-left Democrats, they are literally falling apart right before our very eyes. Remember when squad member Jamal Bowman got destroyed in his New York primary back in June? He lost by massive margins after pro-Israel groups spent like $15 million to defeat him. And then you had Cori Bush in Missouri, another squad member who got voted out after outside groups spent nearly $9 million to get rid of her. Both of these defeats came after these radicals spent months attacking Israel, undermining President Biden's agenda at the time. And here's what's really happening. While Democrats are fawning over the likes of Mamdani in Manhattan, American voters are actually overwhelmingly rejecting the radical progressive agenda, even in deep blue districts. Democrats are choosing experienced, pragmatic candidates over these far left activists who prioritize radical ideology over results. I would presume that very few of you would be interested in San Francisco politics. Obviously, it's become little more than a complete and total Democrat disaster over the last decade. It's an appalling city. It's seen massive, unprecedented residential flight. I mean, get this, San Francisco now suffers from a staggering 35% commercial vacancy rate. I'll say that again, 35% commercial vacancy rate. Since COVID, San Francisco's actually lost half of its downtown stores. You may just have heard just a couple days ago, the owners of In-N-Out Burger, which was founded in California, they're leaving. They've had it. They're gone. They're leaving California. It's just become too utterly and completely dysfunctional politically, culturally. So what's happening in San Francisco really is emblematic of what's happening to the state as a whole. The education system is one of the worst in the nation. A lot of people don't realize that. But despite some of the highest spending per student, San Francisco has some of the lowest test scores among developed countries, with some of the lowest literacy rates in the entire nation. So it's no wonder that the city has lost an utterly staggering 250,000 residents in the last 2 years alone. I mean, we could go on and on talking about the completed societal collapse of this once beautiful city, except they now have a mayor who was just elected back in November, who is quietly becoming perhaps the single most conservative mayor in the nation. I kid you not. Look up Mayor Daniel Lurie. This is absolutely fascinating. He was just elected. He's a Democrat, of course. But he's governing San Francisco like a Republican. The most conservative Democrat mayor in the nation right now is governing San Francisco. Very few people are paying any attention to this. It's amazing. He's very quietly moving to make sense of San Francisco's politics. So they're coming back. They do appear to have turned a corner. They're quietly cleaning up the homeless population. They're cracking down on crime. They're prosecuting car theft, shoplifters, and San Francisco's turning around fast. And the far left press in San Francisco, they've been asking this Mayor Lurie about what he thinks of Trump and what he's going to do about Trump. And are you going to take a stand against Trump? And he's been saying, again, keep in mind, this guy's a Democrat. He's coming out and saying, hey, that's not my jurisdiction. That's not my lane. I am a mayor of a local city. That's federal. Trump's federal politics. I've got nothing to do with that. And he's literally, it's just turning around in San Francisco. Back in June of 2022, San Francisco voters went to the polls and overwhelmingly voted in favor of recalling their ultra woke DA, Chesa Boudin, who's bankrolled by George Soros. He was an absolute disaster. And they voted overwhelmingly for a staunch law and order DA by the name of Brooke Jenkins. And she won in a landslide. And now she, along with this mayor, are prosecuting criminals left and right. Now, there's a lesson here. There's an important historical lesson here. When even the most radically liberal cities go too far, there's a very natural organic correction that consistently follows in order to bring back some political and cultural equilibrium to align with the rest of the country. Think about what happened in New York after Dave Dinkins, Mayor Dave Dinkins. He was an economic disaster. He was a political disaster. He was a cultural disaster. Remember the Crown Heights riots back in '91 that happened under his tenure? NYPD hated him. City Hall hated him. Wall Street hated him. And the vast majority of the New Yorkers saw their quality of life go down under Dinkins. Who did they replace him with? After just one term, in a city where Democrats outnumber Republicans 6-1, who did New Yorkers replace him with in the next election? Rudy Giuliani, a Republican. And who followed Giuliani after 2 terms? Michael Bloomberg, another Republican. Now, I know Bloomberg is hardly a MAGA Republican for sure, but note the pattern here. You get enough Democrats to lurch the city way to the left, and eventually the pendulum swings back the other way. And we saw that for 4 elections in a row in a city, again, where the Democrats outnumber Republicans 6-1. And we're seeing the same thing in San Francisco. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here with the latest Squad defeat. Again, she was just the latest. Progressive challengers are losing at unprecedented rates. The same movement that once promised basically a Marxist revolution is now watching their own incumbents get voted out of office by their own party. So I think that's what we're witnessing here. It's a complete rejection of the radical left's takeover attempt of the Democratic Party. Even Democrat voters are saying enough is enough to this woke ideology and the cultural Marxist nonsense that underlies it. Another way of summarizing all of this is that the far left progressive movement is collapsing under its own extremism. When even Democrats in solid blue districts are rejecting these radical candidates by 40-plus point margins, you know the revolution is over. The Squad's shrinking influence proves that Americans, regardless of party, Americans want real solutions, not socialist fantasies. The progressive revolution isn't coming. It's crashing and burning, one devastating primary defeat at a time. God bless, gang.